finish turn this today. This was the Spalted and Scalloped maple bowl I did quite a while ago. I'll put a link in the top corner if you want to go back and watch this roughing process. It's pretty soft wood. It's a little punky, but it was very pretty, and so I turned it, rough turned it, put it in the kiln. I took it back out, trued it up, and kind of just wanted to take a little pass and see if I thought it was going to be worth finishing. And it looks like we're going to be able to do something with it. And also I'm going to try a different sanding technique today that I learned from Gary over at the Papa 1947. So I drizzled a little bit of Starbond Thin on this just because, I mean, it's actually pretty solid. I don't really think that it's in any danger of the tenon being an issue, but it can't hurt. So I'm going to go ahead and remount this since it's already trued and see what we can do with it. Okay, that doesn't look too bad. I fixed my handle too. I put it on the front. So probably you'll have seen that in a Workshop Wednesday video, but that makes me much happier. I don't think it's going to be in my way. If it is, I can reposition it so that it locks further down here, but I don't want it to be a knuckle buster. I don't really want to take this bracket off because at some point I'm going to get a magnetic light and I would much rather have it here than here for the camera's sake. I've got a camera up here and I've got a camera there and I've got a camera there. So this would be the ideal position for it because I can maneuver it down and underneath or whatever. So I'm going to try it like this. And again, if it seems like it's going to be an issue, then I'll change it. But at least I can get at it now. So I'll go ahead and put this up just because I can. Although maybe we'll just give ourselves a little bit more room. Even though I'm technically cutting backwards here, I'm cutting basically against the grain where the gouge is lifting up the fibers because there's nothing behind them supporting them. Where if I were going the other direction, I would be laying the fibers down on the ones ahead of them. This piece was pretty dry and a little bit punky, so I kind of just tried everything. And whatever happened to give me the best finish wherever I was on the bowl, I just went with it. So I used couple of different kinds of bowl gouges and I used my scrapers and I did some shear scraping and I did some cutting and I tried all of the things to get the best possible surface. So there are a couple of different things that I could do here. I'm just gonna put some shellac on this. Actually, I'm not even going to do this with it on. I'm just going to drizzle it up here. And that was hopefully going to help stiffen these fibers up a little bit. You can see that as I've been working on this, I'm getting a lot of powder and not very many shavings. And the worst parts of it are right up here along these wings. So I added the shellac to try to stiffen those fibers up and see if I could get a little bit more of a clean cut. And then I came back with the negative rake scraper to see if I could clean it up even further. had a little fire going there a couple of times. Do be extremely careful if you're using fire in a wood shop. I have 2 fire extinguishers right by the door with an easy access, so safety first, man. I'm putting on a coat of the water-based sanding sealer that I'm going to be using for the wet sanding. I don't usually do this before I sand, but I'm going to give it a shot. Alright, that seems like a pretty healthy coat, and now I'm going to let that dry. Ugh, alright, so I sanded this. It actually wasn't as bad as I was expecting, and it sanded up better than I was hoping, so maybe we're going to be able to salvage this. So what I'm going to do now, I sanded this to 400, and I watched a video by Gary over at the Papa 1947. He's a great guy. Oops, come here. And he did this on a piece of, the heck was it, staghorn sumac? I think it was staghorn sumac. Anyway, something that's got pretty open grain. So probably things like oak it would work nicely on too. I'm just hoping that I can get some of the sanding slurry to stick in some of the rest of these holes. If you watched the video where I roughed this out, you'll remember that I tried a couple of different things. I put turquoise colored milliput in here, which would have been fine. You know, I smushed it all in and let it dry, but then when I came back to smooth it out, it just pulled it all out. So that didn't work out as well as I was hoping. So I'm gonna just see about wet sanding with water-based sanding sealer. Gary used the Minwax, what do they call it? I guess just the Minwax water-based sanding sealer. This happens to be the Ace brand, but I imagine it's going to be fine. And I'm just going to put some on with the same brush that I used yesterday, which is kind of hard now, but it's not really crucial, I don't think. I'm going to slather a bunch up in here. This up here, don't spill please. And then I have some 320 grit wet dry paper. Probably I should put me on some eye protection since I might make a sloppy mess here. I'm gonna go really slow, at least at first, and see if we can get some slurry going here. Well, I do seem to be getting some gunk. So that's good, I guess. Let's smush it back in there. Now I'm going to see if I can just bring the paper out here. Make sure I'm lifting the corner up. The lathe is spinning in reverse, so I'm just putting a little tiny, actually I'm not even putting any pressure, I'm just folding this out here so that it's touching it on the way by. Turn the speed up a little bit. It's about 380 there. I'm trying to really work that slurry down into the holes on the wings. All right, now I think we just let it dry, and then I'll come back and sand it again. Get some finish on it. See what we got. It's almost time to feed the Beagle again. The Beagle eats a lot. Not nearly as much as he thinks he should eat, but he eats a lot. He really doesn't. He gets less than a cup and a half of food a day, so I don't think that's really very much. The Beagle certainly thinks that's not very much. All right. Everyone's had some lunch, including the Beagle, who is now happy. I did put another coat on, and then I sprinkled a little bit of the sanding dust in there just to add a little bit more, you know, grit to the slurry. So I'm just going to hit this with 320 by hand, and then I'll probably hit it again with the 400 on the drill. So I'm gonna do that. It looks like I can just leave the dust collector like that. Yeah. Maybe just a little piece of 240. And I want to hit this rim a little bit. So I finally figured out where I'm going to put my stickers, and it's on my tool cart, which I know you can't really see all of them right at this moment, but if you guys want to do a sticker swap, my email address is in the about information on my channel. And I'm actually going to try to apply this with a paper towel and see if that works out or not. Okay, this is dry. Sanding sealer is all dry. So now I'm gonna do polycrylic. I got the satin just because I'm gonna do the Axe products after that, which Gary did also. But I don't really like gloss urethane-y things, whether they're oil or water based. It's just not my favorite thing. So I'm gonna do the satin, and then I'll polish it up with the Axe and Brad's abrasive pastes, and then probably the Axe polish paste. Now, when Gary did this, when he applied the polycrylic, he put it on pretty liberally with a brush, and then went back with a cloth with the lathe off, and just kind of wiped it in, and sort of got rid of any smears. I'm gonna just try and do it with paper towels and see how that goes. I did the last coat of sanding sealer with the paper towel, and it seemed to be all right. These are pretty thick. These are I think they're the Sellers brand shop towels, but they're the white ones. I don't like the blue ones. The blue ones left fuzzies and stuff, but I really like the white ones, and they're pretty heavy duty, so I'm gonna see if I can apply it like this and not have to waste another brush on something that I won't use much. So, let's see. So I don't spill it while I'm trying to look at it. Stir well, pile with a brush, whatever. Sand smooth. After 2 hours, sand lightly. Reapply thin coat. Repeat for best durability. Wait 3 hours before light use and 24 hours before normal use. Make sure I don't have any drips off the rim, which I do. Get rid of all of those. All right. Let that dry and see what we got, and if we think we want to put another coat on or not. Technically, you could be done right here, but I really like the way that Gary's turned out, so I'm going to go ahead and do my relatively normal finishing process. I'm going to start out with the Axe abrasive paste. And I followed that up with Brad sanding paste. It's very shiny. I'm gonna do the Axe on this one because this is already sealed with the polycrylic, so there's no point in using tongue wax. Since tongue oil is a drying oil, the point of it is to get into the pores of the wood and harden, cure, like linseed oil, walnut oil, tongue oil. I don't know if there's a handful more, but those are the three main ones that we use in woodworking. Oh. Interesting. I think that's a little too high for the polycrylic underneath. Wrapping the paper towel around a cheap dish scrubby keeps my fingers away from the spinny bits. Oops, wrong way. Everything I do it backwards. I didn't worry about where the finish got all kind of gummed up there. I knew that I was going to be taking the majority of that little shoulder or foot off when I take the tenon off, so I cut most of that out. Now, if it turns out that this is in the way where it is, I think that I can still reposition it so that it's further down and further back when it locks, but it still won't like be breaking my knuckles, which is, I do enough of that on my own. Alright, so it is going to be in the way, but I'll fix that. Now I've switched to a spindle gouge here, which generally speaking you shouldn't use spindle gouges on bowls because they're not really meant to withstand the torque of a cross-grain blank. Alright, I'm going to try and do that thing that Phil Anderson does, but I don't know. So the reason that I'm using a spindle gouge on a bowl blank is because I'm only using it to take the tenon off. And what Phil Anderson does is he gets it really close with this bowl gouge and then takes a spindle gouge with a nice steep angle. I think they actually use a detail gouge, which may be a 30 degree. Mine is a 40, but it should work just fine. So basically, when you get really close to cutting through the final bit of the tenon, you turn the lathe off, and the last couple of rotations will just take that nub completely out of there and you're done. Spoiler alert, this isn't how you're supposed to do it. You're supposed to turn the speed all the way down, not up. Don't go the wrong way, ding dong. Oh well, I'll do better next time. I really like the way the finish turned out. I was a little freaked out at first because it's shinier than I'm used to, but both the girls decided that this was their favorite finish so far. So, what do you guys think? Do you like a little bit more of a shine or a gloss finish? Let me know in the comments. Thank you guys so much for watching. We hit the 10,000 subscriber mark, and I'll have another update about that soon. Until then, y'all be safe out there, and enjoy another episode of Bailey's Bits. What are you doing, Squirt? You got your piggy? You are a silly boy. I love how gingerly he sets it down. And then he gives it a little kiss. You better not leave it there.
This is one I get to carry it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, look at that sky.